We will call this meeting to order. Andrea, I hope that was enough 2-minute time for everyone to get the last things written. Thank you all for being here today. We're going to stand for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get started.
Bow your heads, please.
Dear Lord, thank you for this time that we have together with the faculty, staff, administrators, volunteer, and students who we can come together on behalf of St. Petersburg College and give us wisdom and guidance as we plan for the future. Be with each of us as we all celebrate our own holiday season moving forward through this month and into 2018. Bless us each and every day as we do your will. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here today. I like sharing the microphone here. This is nice.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. A little different.
Yes.
We know it's a busy time of year for everyone, especially as the semester is coming to a close, and I just want to thank you all for being here in such great numbers. This is an extremely exciting board meeting for me, and I know it is for the other trustees. This is an opportunity for us to talk and also listen, and it breaks us up from the normal day-to-day that we see throughout the year. It's the perfect time to be able to look and set a vision for where we want to go as a college. And I think knowing that is what makes me the most excited. Sometimes I think these meetings can happen at a time where it doesn't seem quite appropriate. It's very appropriate to have this meeting right now and to collaborate in this room with all of you. So thank you for being here. I want to go ahead and thank Andrea also for helping to put this process together and lead us to where we need to get to today, and hopefully keep us on point, which is another important part of this whole process. And with that, I would like to turn it over to her for the time being. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Chair Stone-Cipher, Board of Trustee members, Dr. Williams, and team. Welcome. How's everyone doing this morning? This is the best Board of Trustee meetings of the year. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes. All right, because we are all here. We're going to do great work, celebrate the past, look toward the future, and so thank you for being part of this very important day. Let me share with you our objectives for the next 3 hours. The first is, as we generally do, we take a look back and we recognize the accomplishments. And we will here momentarily invite anyone who would like to share key accomplishments in each of the objectives that we set forth for this past year. Also, you all had those one-word highlights, the best of 2017. We'll ask you to shout out some of the key one-word highlights. Then we will quickly go into the future. What does success look like for SPC in the next 3 years? You have to pause and think about that. And what we're going to do today is really look toward visionary pillars that will hold up and that will support our vision, our mission, our key objectives, our strategies. So we're really going to focus in on what are the pillars for success. We're not going to develop the full 3-year plan today, just the pillars, and we're going to get those right. So 3 to 5 pillars that will be kind of the containers and the support for the next 3 years. We're going to define those pillars, and then, as kind of a wrap-up, we will look toward how do we build our 3-year strategic plan? What are the next steps? So does that sound like what you had anticipated we would be covering?
Yes.
Good? All right. So let's start by celebrating some of the key accomplishments. And I'm going to start in the accreditation, reaffirmation, QEP area. And I know. So let's open it up, and whoever would like to shout out and give some recognition to what we were able to accomplish this past year. And please state your name for the record and just share key accomplishments in this area. Please, Sabrina.
I'm Sabrina Crawford, the Executive Director of Institutional Research and Effectiveness, and I have to admit that having been involved in multiple times doing an accreditation reaffirmation, this was the best one I've ever been a part of. It was the most collaborative, it had the most people involved, and the sense of teamwork, the fact that faculty led the QEP process, delved into it, and really saw what was going to be best for students was inspiring for me to just be a part of it. So.
Let's give a hand clap for that. Thank you, Sabrina, for leading that charge. Any others in the accreditation QEP, please?
Darlene Westbrook, CCIT. I was a part of this, very small part, but it was exciting to see everybody come together and realize that there was a way that we offset what was put on us by not being able to support the students that needed the most. So having this pilot group and trying something different was exciting.
Thanks, Darlene. Let's transition over to the 3-year financial plan, 3 years facilities plan. Who has a quick accomplishment you'd like to share? Lift up. Please.
We, at Clearwater campus, opened our new library and moved our admin office over to where our LSCs. So we're very happy with the way that the library is turned out. We've gone through a little bit of things here and there, but it's pretty successful. And they're coming twice a week, doing reading for everybody to know where everything is. But it's pretty nice. We're pretty happy, and we love for everybody to come in and look at it.
Introduce yourself,
Oh, I'm
please.
Fatma Hedaya. I'm sorry. I think everybody knows me better.
She's one of our students. Yes.
Thank you, Fatma. Let's hear it for the Clearwater Library. Any other accomplishments in the financial plan or the facilities for the next 3 years? Please, Brian.
My name is Brian Miles. I want to commend everybody for their efforts, hard work, and sacrifice in realigning the budget this year. I think everybody knows we made significant changes to the budget to bring it in line with what we're doing as an institution. And personally, professionally, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for your hard work and sacrifice in making these changes.
All right, thank you. Budget realignment. All right, let's oh, please, Francis, yes.
I wanted to just piggyback off of this and the opening of the Bay Pines. Congratulations to the facilities group. They have done a lot of work this year, you can see, as you can see. And also the naming of the Silver Center at the Bay Pines Center. We're very pleased about that.
Thank you, Francis. Let's hear it for Bay Pines and the Silverberg Center. All right. Let's transition over to this objective area, recruitment and retention. Who has a key accomplishment we can highlight? 2017 accomplishment, please.
Hi, I'm Karen Somerville, and I'm a career and academic advisor, and I'm just so excited about the FUSE program. I think, and now we've got the Ignite that's come after it. And I think for high school recruitment, as we're out in the high schools, this has just opened up excitement. Not only, some students are going to come to us anyway, but this is the reason some are stopping to think, I'm going to come here first, and then know that I can go, over to the university. So I think it's just such an exciting opportunity for us to grow, and I know we had some great success in our first time in college growth, and I think this had a part of it. And I think then on the flip side, I think it's going to be a key with retention because they have to finish that AA in 2 to 3 years. So we're going to be working with them and getting them, through that AA process, graduated, and moving on to the university. So I'm very excited about that.
Thanks, Karen. Let's hear it for the FUSE program. Any upper recruitment and retention accomplishments we want to highlight this morning? 2017. Jackie?
I'm Jackie Scred, Executive Director of Grants, and we were very fortunate this year to actually receive 2 National Science Foundation grants, both very competitive. In fact, one of them came officially just last Friday, and it builds off of the FUSE program and helping underrepresented minorities enter into STEM degree pathways and transfer into a university or a four-year degree like those that we have at our school. So. The other one is in biomedical engineering technology. So anything that we are doing to drive students into STEM areas and keep them in that path and help them to succeed and complete and get a job is what those two particular grants are. So over $3 million in that, I think, about. So that's really good. Yeah.
Thanks, Jackie. $3 million STEM grants. Thank you. All right, let's move to Pathways Initiative, College Classroom Experience, Learning Beyond the Classroom. What key accomplishments can we lift up for this area?
I'll start with one.
Please, Dr. Williams.
I'm Tanya Williams. I want to applaud FGO for the classroom experience and the work that they have already started on addressing, I believe it's now called the learning experience, and how to help students succeed in the classroom and their role in doing so. And we just started that this semester. Thanks to Dr. Ulrich for getting the troops together, as well as a lot of other folks. I believe Joe Leopold is a part of that as well, and Heather. So thank you all for what you're doing there to get the learning experience.
All right, thank you. Let's hear it for FGO and the learning experience. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else has experienced. My goodness, the church is but I did send out a spark to all of my students who had not signed up for classes for next semester. And I got back some of the nicest comments from students. Thank you for caring about it. It was just really cool. And I want to thank Jamie Ferrazano for that too. It was just great.
Let's hear it for the Spark Tool and appreciative students. All right, please.
I'm Susan Demers, and I'm one of the academic deans, and I think the thing that I found the most heartening through the year is the way the triads and the pathways projects brought together our learning support specialists from the library, our advisors, and the academic side. So, because ultimately we all have to work together, but this is the first time to my knowledge that we've had these formalized groupings so that we had regularized communications. We haven't perfected it yet, but it's a great, great start.
Outstanding. Thanks, Dean Demers. Let's hear for the triads.
I'm Dean Smiley, Dean of Social Sciences here at the college. I happen to believe that those 10 communities are going to be powerful expressions of our capacity to be able to create an atmosphere where students will be able to go through very enriching experiences. I am so excited about the social science community. I'm so excited about the ability to be able to create an unusually powerful, expressive way of having them experience that community with all kinds of wonderful activities they'll be enriched with as a part of their academic experience. I'm very excited about that, and I fundamentally believe that once that student gets through the beginning of that community and lands on graduation, they will have had such an experience that will be so enriching, it's almost unbelievable.
Great. Thank you, Dean. All right, let's go on to employee professional development. Who has a key accomplishment or something we can highlight? Deborah.
The first one's mine. Wildly successful presidential search outcome.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, I'll tag on that. I'm Bill Foster, and I was a small part of that presidential search. As I observe, and I observed two leadership styles, actually three, from Carl to Bill to Tanja. And as I see Dr. Williams' leadership style, she listens, she wants you to express yourselves and collaborate. She brings a freshness to the role as leader, as president of this institution, and so I'm grateful. I'm the one that put Dr. Williams on all of this. Because and every accomplishment that we've seen throughout the college system, her leadership and her freshness and her working with you in collaboration has made a huge difference. So I'm grateful.
Thank you. Other employee professional development accomplishments for 2017?
I just have to say it again. I think the CETO seminars have been very effective for the faculty and the team. I believe that we are working on cutting edge thinking, processes, and procedures. I really enjoy that. The movement of the faculty has been great. The deans and the provosts, the leadership that you have provided has been great. And I also believe that what we're doing with the academies that we offer at the college, Leadership SPC, and opening up things for CETO, and being open and collaborative has really started changing the trajectory of the college and how we work together as a team. And I'm very proud of all of you and your involvement in that, because it is you who make that happen. So I want to say, for professional development and the employee experience, we're well on our way in making those changes.
Thanks, Dr. Williams. Let's hear it for all the employee development initiatives. Do we have any other accomplishments? I know we have one that made the whiteboard, or any others that didn't quite make the whiteboard. Francis?
And I have them in the other categories, but I just wanted to say the foundation is so pleased to be able to award over $2 million in scholarships this year. The other part of it is that we have grown our business partnerships to over 70 now, and we're working with Ms. Hem and Jason Krupp, and how to expand these partnerships beyond just scholarships, but to create employment opportunities and mentorship opportunities and internship opportunities that create, I think, or move us forward in the direction that this college is going.
Thank you. All right, let's hear it for scholarships and partnerships. Anyone else want to comment on the other board?
That we got through the hurricane?
Yeah. Yeah.
We got 8 hurricanes. Survived.
Yeah. All right.
Good work for the whole team. We really came together. You guys did a great job.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to our one-word highlights, and we see a few here: community, hope, care, exciting. It is difficult to, kind of encapsulate the best of 2017 in one word. Would any of you like to take a stab at it? Really kind of sharing what community might mean, or hope, or care, or exciting? Those got a lot of energy, so multiple folks texted those in. There is coffee in the back.
I'll take a stab
Please.
at it. It looks like what we are trying to create under Dr. Williams' leadership in this board of trustees is a community of hope, of care. It's exciting. We're moving forward. We're going to take this community by storm. We're going to take our rightful place in this community, because St. Petersburg College is doing some of the best work, if not the best work, in the Tampa Bay area.
All right. Taking it by storm. Let's hear it. And before we move now into the future, I'll pause and ask any of our Board of Trustee members if you have a special highlight or accomplishment that you'd like to lift up or recognize. Yes, you did. You get
I
extra
didn't want
credit.
to look like a suck up, but I ditto everything that Trustee Foster said. I looked at every board because I was a few minutes behind and saw Dr. Williams, like, okay, I guess that one's been said. But I think the other thing that's missing maybe on the recruitment and retention plan, and what I just texted to the one-word highlights, is embracing the Titan. I think that that's a big thing that has changed this year and has given us more of a brand and something that people can be excited about. So I'd like to see that make it up there.
Let's hear for the Titans. Thank you. Are we ready to go into the future where no man or woman has ever gone? All right. Chair Stonecipher, can you set the stage?
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you all for your comments and taking the time to step up to the board and write down your thoughts on this year. I just wanted to start today by setting the stage a little bit for what we'll do for the next couple of hours, and also give an overview of where we've been, just as we did up here, and what I think the role of the board is through all of this. The role of the board is defined as being in charge of cost-effective policy decisions appropriate to our mission, which is critically important, of course. But I think the role of the board is a bit more than that. It's more emotional than that, and it is tied passionately to this college and this institution. We're here to help paint that 10,000-foot view of where we want to go and who we want to be. And then we turn that over to the very talented faculty, staff, administrators, leaders at this institution to shade in the lines and fill in the blanks on how we get there and how we accomplish that. We're here to hopefully keep things pointed in the right direction, but we fully understand that none of this happens without your hard work and dedication. And that's why this particular meeting every year is exciting for me, and I know everyone else, because we are listening to each other. We're trying to find out what our needs are and where we want to go and how we can best accomplish that. And then we can spend the majority of the next 2 or 3 years figuring out exactly how to get there. But I do want to, just in my mind, as I was thinking about this year, the thing that came up more than anything else is your all's ability to be flexible and to continue to move things forward as we have been in a year of change. There are 2 new board members with us since the beginning of this year. There's a new president with us since the beginning of this year. There's a new budget demand since the beginning of this year, and through new enrollment number. I mean, through it all, we've continued to move forward. Nothing has slowed down. Maybe we're changing direction a little bit, but we're still going in the right way. And that is so encouraging as a board to see that and to see the dedication that we have here. As you guys were just mentioning things and we saw the word cloud, without the word cloud, you guys mentioned collaboration, organization, teamwork, thinking outside the box, realignment, hard work, care, listening, and coming together. Those are all the things that you all just mentioned as you stood up and made comments. That's a pretty good sign, and we're very appreciative of that. So today, we're going to move forward, and we're going to do it a little bit differently than in years past, but what we'd like to set out to do is to come up with 3 to 5 foundational pillars that are going to be pretty general, but in which a lot of the things that are found in our mission and vision statement will fall under naturally. And in addition to that, and I don't want to forget to bring this up, we've had outstanding work by a transition team that has been put together to kind of help us get to the next level, as Dr. Williams has come on board as our president. And that team has worked tirelessly together, many times kind of pushing their personal wants or needs to the side to see what's best for the college and what's best for the students overall. So we'll also have their ideas and part of their plan to add to what some of these pillars will be and help implement what we want to get done, which some of the work has already been started on that, which is encouraging. It's our goal to walk parallel tracks with what the transition team has come up with and what we'll come up with as a group as the 3 to 5 pillars of the school going forward for the next 3 years. So with that being said, I want to encourage everyone today to be open and honest. This should be a fun process. We should be able to debate things openly, not be afraid to say what's on your mind. We can only choose 3 to 5 things when it's all said and done, so not everything that's brought up will be used to move forward. But I can almost guarantee that every single item that's in the college's vision will be incorporated in some way to these pillars. And so I'm going to ask Andrea if she can step back up and run us through exactly what the rest of this time together is going to look like so that you guys know what's to come and so that we all understand how we're going to move forward. Before I do that, sorry, I called you too early. I did want to open it up. I know Andrea asked earlier if the Board of Trustees or if the President have any other comments before we move forward. I didn't want to shove off too early here without giving you all that opportunity. Sure.
Today's exercise is extremely important to me. It is the building of the foundation at which we will craft our plan on how we're going to work and play. And so it is at the 60,000 foot level, and we're actually going to make broad strokes in this picture that we'll be painting. I want to make sure that the transition team knows that a lot of the recommendations that you have made will actually be worked on while we're working on the plan. Some of those things can be done relatively quickly, and we don't want to wait a long time to start hitting those pieces. So you may not see them written exactly as you wrote them here because we're just working on the pillars, but what you put together will be included, along with the state mandates and guidelines and other issues that the college has to address. But for the transition team, we have already looked at some of the low-hanging fruit that we could start working on now, that we won't wait until the end of the plan being developed. And we'll come back with you to share that so you can be a part of that movement, and you'll continue to be involved in this entire process. So don't worry about your piece getting lost.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if I really want to do this, but okay. Since we talked about the transition team, maybe we should get a recap from Mr. Goodman about what were the overarching themes that were in there. I know, but I wanted to give them an opportunity so that we can try to condense. Because I think when I read the document that they gave us, listened to the transition team report, it was almost like we need to kind of align some of the stuff and push them in the silos. All right. Well, I won't.
The transition, everyone has the transition team packet on your desk. If there are questions as we go along too, there are members of the transition team here, as well as thanks to Adam Goodman for being here. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer any questions as well.
Let's go. Let's go.
We're going to move forward. Andrea, if you want to go ahead and walk us through what today will look like.
Thank you. So, does everyone have an agenda packet? If you don't, please raise your hands and Tina will bring you one. We have a couple here on the side. Please go to the page that has SPC's vision, mission, and values, because what we're here to do is to actually operationalize the vision, mission, and values, not necessarily rewrite them, but to use them as we springboard into the next 3 years and develop our pillars that will help us realize our vision, mission, and values. God bless you. So I thought it would be helpful if we read aloud our mission together. And many of you know it by heart. You won't even need to refer to the page. All right, let's do this. Promote student success and enrich our communities through education, career development, and self-discovery. So the mission is our purpose. Our vision is where we want to go. So the vision, let's read that together. A great college transforming the lives of our students, of our communities, and of our employees. So that's where we want to go. And then our values, we won't read all of the statements or the definitions of the values, but let's read aloud each of the 13 values. Student focus, academic excellence, outstanding service, diversity, ethics, culture of inquiry, martyrships, transparency, leadership and empowerment, global citizenship, mutual respect, and innovation, and professional development. So those are our 13 values. And I thought it was important that we read them aloud as a college family because this is why we exist. This is where we're going. This is our purpose. And these are the behaviors that we've all signed on to live. So what we're here to do today is to operationalize this. And we're going to create, as we've already kind of alluded to, the visionary pillars, 3 to 5. And these will provide strength and support to uphold our vision. Here are some examples, and you have pillar examples in your packets as well. Valencia has 3 great pillars: education, workforce and economy, community. Those are their 3 pillars. Underneath each, you see a definition. So we're going to be working in 2 parts today. The first will be to identify our 3 to 5 pillars. Once we have those, then we'll define them. So aren't those good? Those really help to, I'm sure, contain the strategic planning efforts of Valencia. And then I want to mention the Florida Chamber of Commerce. They have 6 pillars. And many of the agencies in our state utilize these 6. They're very broad, but yet very focused. So you can see talent, supply, and education is one, infrastructure, growth leadership, civic and governance systems, innovation and economic development, business climate and competitiveness, quality of life, and quality places. So you can see they're broad enough to contain most any objective or goal or strategy that we would come up with at a statewide level. But they're focused enough to really help you develop objectives and goals and strategies and action plans. So that's what we're here to do. And we are going to work in teams. You have 2 team configurations. The first one will be to identify our top 3 to 5 pillars. And we're actually going to stay in this room. You're so comfortable, why leave, you know? So the Board of Trustees will stay here, and then we have teams around the rooms. You can see the Team 1 here, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4, Team 5 in that corner, Team 6, and Team 7. And you probably have already been assigned to a team. If you don't have a team, feel free to let us know and we can help you find a team. Once we divide into teams, you will appoint a keyboarder at your team, and they will capture the key brainstorming ideas about pillars. You'll also appoint a spokesperson who can share the top pillar you all come up with at your various teams. Music just means that we will move back to our gathering areas, or if you're comfortable, you can stay right where you are once we divide into teams. I know you get comfortable and you build a bond with that team. It's hard to leave, you know, once you're in there. We don't really have breaks programmed in, so as you need to take a break, feel free to just head out, refresh your coffee, muffin. All right, let's take a quick view, PJ, of Think Tank. And PJ is going to bring Think Tank up on all of our screens. This is our brainstorming software where we will brainstorm pillars. And the Board of Trustee team, you all will have your own pillar, your own bucket. And PJ, if you can take us to activity 1, where we can show everybody where they're going to be working. So the Board of Trustee team, you all will have your brainstorming bucket. And then we will like to ask you to identify maybe your top 3 pillars. So you might brainstorm 15, 20, but then try to come up with your top 3 that you think are broad enough to contain the key goals and objectives for the next 3 years. In parallel, we'll have the other teams working to brainstorm in the 3rd bucket, and so we have 8 different teams brainstorming at once. Each team, when prompted, will ask you to pick one pillar, and you can pick any of the pillars that are up there for choice. You don't have to pick one that your team generated. But whichever one that you think is most important, you drag and drop it into the team's top pillar visionary bucket here. Then we'll reconvene as a full group. We'll ask the Board of Trustee members to share why they selected their top 3 pillars. And then we'll hear from each team and ask you why you selected your top pillar. And then the Board of Trustees, you all will have a chance to kind of synthesize, and maybe you want to include one or more of the other teams' pillars that they've recommended, or hear more about it, or we could even synthesize them at that point. So there's so many options available to us. So, all right. Any questions before we divide into teams? You don't have to go very far. It's pretty cozy in here. All right. Well, we will deploy into teams. PJ will play some holiday music, and we will help you once you get to your teams. All right, so let's first hear from our Board of Trustees, and they have selected 3 pillars. And I'll ask
That was quick.
Chair Stonecipher, would you like to share?
You knocked us out. Oh, we're gonna get rid of them. We have 2 buddies.
Got nothing, they turned it off. Oh, there we go. We had a difficult time thinking big picture, which isn't too surprising, but we, as a table, are on board with a lot of very similar things. It's a matter of how to fine tune those into something that's 30,000 feet. But we will give it our best shot. So the first one we came up with was economic opportunity and mobility. And a lot of the phrasing came back to center of economic opportunity and mobility. We want to be the hub, the engine of that within Pinellas County. We can define that later, but some of the things we're looking at for that, we're building talent pipelines, opportunity for our businesses to hire and for our students to train. We're the plan, not the fallback, making sure that we're the first ones, the municipalities, that businesses come to when they need help, and we can partner and do something with them. The second item we came up with centered around the collegiate environment. A one SPC idea that not only means that all the campuses, while different, need to be working together as one college. That means that everyone's getting these same opportunities and the same experience no matter where they're taking classes, no matter where they're attending school or going to the library. And that includes the faculty as well, student and faculty having the same opportunities. And some of this also falls back to collegiate environment, meaning how are the students engaging with what's going on these campuses? Do they feel a part of St. Petersburg College? Branding could fall under this. There's a lot of different ways we could go with building that one SPC idea and having people be very proud of where they've chosen to go to school. And then finally, we talked a lot about community diversity and inclusion. This was, as we discussed it, a way we see for the school to partner with the community and be the lead in those community connections. A lot of that would then fall to having a great diversity and inclusion because of how in-depth and involved we are with what's going on, not only in Pinellas County, but in Hillsborough as well, and those surrounding. Did I miss anything? Is that good? Good explanation?
All right.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for our Board of Trustees. Good work. I know that you all were doing good work in your teams. Some of you got a little bit overzealous, but that's okay. Let's go with Team 1 and ask if your spokesperson would please share the top pillar.
Do I need a microphone or do I? Sure. I don't have to.
Delegate.
Our top pillar was authentic community. I think we're number 13. Oh, number 10. Authentic community, and by that we meant we want to be real with each other and serve the actual people that are in our classrooms and in our community, and not just sort of an idea of what we want them to be or what we expect them to be, but actually kind of look around to our, and I know Dr. Williams talks about this a lot. We talked a lot about the community of care and serving real people, not just serving the idea of people. So that was our number one thing, and I think it aligns with a lot of the things that you guys were talking about, almost touches on all 3 of them. So that was our main thing. Thank you.
Any clarifications, board members, for Team 1? Pretty clear? All right, Team 2.
Right here. Good morning, Joe Leopold. So, why is everyone laughing? What? Well, it's just, I feel really good. We're in a good place, right? Where's our choice here? Our pillar is workforce and economic development. Is it up there, please? Here we go. 3, okay. We feel that this is the direction that is going to shape where we're going. It's a phrase we've used before many times, but it's one in which it encompasses the things that we've already mentioned here. A student-ready college, community engagement, career and educational pathways. More to the point of the table, we had discussions about building closer ties to businesses, including partnerships, increasing the upward mobility of our students in the communities that we serve, connections to alumni who serve as success mentors and as examples of graduates working in insurance offices and other locations around the county. And finally, this has some implications for branding that we feel that we can move forward with. Sound good, team? All right. Thank you.
All right, team 3.
We basically had to do this as an illustration so that it just helps us get the picture. And so transformation is going to be our key term, but it serves as the foundation, transformation of the individual, not just the student, but faculty and staff. And then our pillars, which are supposed to strengthen and uphold your vision, are the ones that you see there: education, career development, and personal growth, which ultimately will then transform our community.
So in developing ours, which is a unified culture of care and trust, we piggybacked off of the famous quote by Peter Drucker that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And we really feel that we need to develop a culture here that not only shows a genuine community of care, but also that establishes and maintains trust throughout the organization. And so if you're familiar with Covey, you know that in the book Leading at the Speed of Trust, Covey says that as trust goes up, so does speed of operations and cost goes down. So if that holds true, then we really need to focus on both care and trust in developing our culture here at SPC.
The other aspect that I wanted to add to that is unified is the one college as well.
I just want to say I had to do the keyboard and now I'm talker. Thanks, team. I'm Shannon Ulrich, faculty member. So when we were talking, we hit on basically all 3 points that you all had hit on. And one of the things that kind of kept coming out of my mouth was ecosystem. Because energy flows into an ecosystem, it's transferred, it's transformed, so we can kind of think about that in terms of learning, right? So we're taking that and we're transferring it and we're subsequently transforming lives. And kind of keeping that within our own community as well and making it grow and flourish. So with that, we came up with several different ideas. We were one of the overzealous teams. We had 5, we got yelled at for that. And as we were trying to take them out, they turned it off so we couldn't. So you're seeing, one of our top one was one voice that is communicated powerfully. And this topic refers not only to the community and how the community perceives us, but we also perceive the community and how we can open our doors and tell them that we can open our doors, but also at the level of SPC itself, being able to communicate effectively to build the trust, become more efficient, get that enrollment up, and everybody's happy. And then we also had, we really liked this one, so it's hard to kind of take this one out, but exploring the future today. So basically showing our students that if you come here, you can make your tomorrow better by what you're doing today, by what we heard when one of the students at graduation spoke, sacrificing a little bit of today to better your tomorrow. So that really kind of resounded in our team. And that's it.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Borszewski.
We also had several, but we did bring it down to one. We're good direction followers.
Smiley wanted to comply.
So we actually mirrored quite a bit of the culture of care conversation, but we really did it through the lens of innovation. And so we talked about the difference between initiatives and a true culture of innovation. We talked about feeling empowered to respond to student needs, to innovate, and stay on the edge of really what's happening in the moment for students and for our community.
I think I get to speak because I was in the corner back here, so. Hi, Team 7. We did probably what we weren't supposed to do first. We dove down really deep into everything, and then we went back up to 60,000 feet because we all kind of looked at each other and were like, wow, we're getting in the weeds with this. So, and we drew a picture because that helped us kind of think about what we are doing for our community, for our students, for our employees, and for ourselves. So we came up with a pillar that has 3 prongs to it. So we kind of bent the rules a little bit. But we kept coming back to the thing that was resonating with us is that we are the community's college. And then we kind of thought, what does that mean? What does that mean to the folks in the community? Why did they come to us? We had a lot of conversations about what you all mentioned with transformation, growth, what were kind of the first step for the next step, that kind of stuff. And for us, the community's college means scholarship, partnership, and care. And that spells SPC. So you can add all kinds of fun stuff. All right, I'm gonna let everybody stand up here because we all thought that was really kind of cool.
So good stuff, yes. All right, so Board of Trustees, we now have all kinds of excellent pillars for you to consider. We'll backtrack just for a moment and we'll revisit the ones that we brought forward: economic opportunity and mobility, collegiate environment, which was the one SPC, community diversity and inclusion. Now let's go back to some of our teams, and do we have others that you want to bring forward as possible additions to, or we can synthesize at this point? Which ones really resonated with you?
Yeah, I think I'll jump in here. The good news is a lot of these are saying the same thing or similar things. In my mind, I don't think we're too far off as a group thinking about what we want the foundational pillars of this institution to be. I will just say a couple that jumped off the page that maybe could be incorporated. I love the idea of culture of innovation and what that means. Just adding that to what we want the overall culture of the college to be. That could also lead right into number 6, which is a college of exploring the future today. What a great way to phrase that, and hopefully communicate the opportunity and the potential that is here for those who may not even know it. And then one more I was going to hit on was the authentic community, especially because that's a lot of what we had the conversation around, and I know a lot of what Dr. Williams speaks to is we're not talking about hypotheticals or a number on a page. We're talking about real people who are stepping into the classroom or logging on online, and how do we connect with them, and how do we make sure that they're learning and then increasing their upward mobility through life, which is something we touched on too. So I'm trying to think big picture here and how we can incorporate all these things, but I think a lot of it will come down to how do we define each of these pillars that we set up, and how do some of these things fall under those big ideas. And I'm going to have Andrea help me, summarize all that.
Well, those three.
So those three in particular, Chair Stone-Cipher, they do align well with the three you all selected. Do you see that you'd like to tweak yours? For example, authentic community, would you want to add the word authentic in this particular bucket in any way? Would you want to look at the culture of innovation and potentially add it into the collegiate environment?
With respect to our number 3 there, one of the things we were struggling with was, and this is more a branding question, but how to really reflect the inclusiveness of the college. So I really like the communities college with respect to number 3. Again, that might more just be wordsmithing and a brand as opposed to a vision, but I think that was a great reflection of what we were trying to come up with, I think. So the only thing I'll say, and there are no bad ideas, but we do get to disagree and have a conversation, right? Is I think that discounts our ability to provide baccalaureate programs, and I think it's a step backwards to a community college, and I have a real issue with that.
But is that saying the communities college? Not that we're saying community, it's we belong to, how many communities do we have in Pinellas? Like
24 municipalities,
24
census designated
So
areas.
we're near just about every one of those communities. And one of the things that I think when we talk about being the plan and not the fallback is being in those communities. I see what you're saying about the community college as if we don't, baccalaureate is not there. And depending on where we are, SPC is sometimes considered a community college, and sometimes we're considered a state college that offers baccalaureate degrees. But when I'm looking at a lot of the post-secondary groups in Pinellas, they are trying to be the communities, to be a part of the communities that we're in. So what would we use as a different, phrase that would still make us the communities? That we belong to Seminole and St. Pete Beach and Tarpon and Clearwater and South St. Pete and West St. Pete and Pinellas Park and, right, Kennett City, Northeast. So I think whoever did the communities college, can you expound on if I'm getting it or missing?
That's
You're
exactly
getting
where we were
it.
going.
That's where we were going.
How do you guys feel about that? It's a decision of the board.
Is there another word? That's what I was doing, is going to Going thesaurus. to thesaurus other than community, but it's almost like your community's college.
Yeah. Your community.
But if there's another word, because I appreciate that point.
Yeah, Dr.
Bridget.
Kemp just brought out, what about your community's state college?
Or your community, your college.
How about just your college?
Your community, your college.
Ooh.
What about your community, your college?
Oh, that's good.
I like that.
You like
Your
community, your
community's
college, it's gonna make it sound like
A community college. But what about your community, your college? That doesn't sound.
And that
community
also,
college.
that kind of also suggests that if you want to get a 4-year degree, we have those too. It's your college and you can get what you want that's here. Great job.
Neighborhood.
It is also says start here.
So that's on our pillar with respect to being out in the partnerships and the inclusion.
Sounds like that's resonating with everybody. Your community, your college.
Yeah, I like
It goes
that.
down to how we define it.
Then we go to.
Respect officials.
All right, how about collegiate environment? Do we want to expand that? That was the one SPC pillar.
Going back to that, I feel like that incorporates a lot of the culture and care conversation that we heard throughout the room, and it's something we talked about as well. So unified culture of care and trust. Go back to what we, so I think that's a huge part of the collegiate environment, is that idea of a culture of care and trust. And it's kind of where we thought that would be best suited as we discussed it.
But if we say culture of care and trust, does that communicate to a student or an investor?
I think it just falls under that category.
It falls under that
I don't know if it
category.
necessarily
Okay.
needs to be titled that. In my mind, I mean, that's where we discussed it.
Yes. We would like to make a suggestion to put
Sure.
collegiate learning environment. As we're all.
Yeah, I think that incorporates everything.
Does that exclude student activities?
That's organic.
I don't know.
One of the things we
About collegiate experience.
One of the things we're hoping with the collegiate environment is to make sure that folks know this is a college. We have athletics, we have clubs, we have learning, we have tutoring, we have a lot of things going on that happens in a collegiate environment, which also includes respect, it includes support, includes care. So if we put learning in there, that might narrow that concept. So what else could we, what is environment the right word, Heather?
So we're really not pushing our pillars. But everybody at the table back here kept going back to scholarship. Again, in scholarly, Ryan said maybe scholarly, just that whole professional. So we're thinking about not just our students, but also our employees and our community members. That scholarship can mean a lot of different things to folks. And yes, it is a collegiate environment. But
Does scholarship sound academic?
I don't know, you guys wordsmithed it, but it was almost, I think when we were talking about it, it was sort of that personal growth, the inclusion, the innovation, we even talked about integrity being a part of scholarship, that it can mean a different thing depending on what you're coming to SBC for.
And we worked pretty hard we did that all of the taglines, we were really good at taglines. Getting good at taglines. And the hardest thing was when you're going into the grocery store and someone says, can you tell me what your strategic plan is about? You're looking for the 3 words or the 5 words. So if you're your community, your college, then what are the 5 things you represent? And education just seems kind of like blah. So and then I don't know how we ended up with we had partnership, and then we had care.
Then we said
scholastic, and that sounded horrible. And all of a sudden we realized we had SPC. So it was just a nice way of rounding out the statements. So I'm not saying go that way, but if you're asked it at a grocery store, you'll want to have it roll off. And coming up with a collegiate learning environment and long taglines will make it harder for you to express the pillars that you're working on. That's my question.
Could we encompass more by saying collegiate culture instead of environment?
We could do culture.
Is that broaden the perspective to include things like athletics, community outreach, all the other things that we do?
Well, and then that also goes to the faculty and to the...
Yeah, culture I think can encompass everything. It also reminds me, Shannon, was it your group that used the word ecosystem?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm picturing in my head, right, is how do we phrase this so that it's all encompassing? I think, I don't know, culture works well with that.
Or ecosystem.
Or ecosystem.
I like it. I used it with the summer
Do we
education.
as an institution embrace lifelong learning, and would we ever want to say scholarship and lifelong learning?
We could, but that still seems more academic only in nature. we could, say scholarship. I think one of the things that we realize, to help students succeed, you have to serve the whole student. And so they know that we're an academic institution, we're a college, but I cannot tell you how many times I have people say, we didn't know you had a debate team. I didn't know you had athletics. We didn't know you did this. I would have come had I known this, you know. So to get to a more collegiate atmosphere or way of being, right, is important, and we'll still be able to highlight the scholarship and the academic success and learning. That is a big part of what we do. It's huge. But I believe it's important that we remind students we're serving the whole student, and we remind employees. One of the things that the board talked a lot about was the employee experience and mutual respect and trust and things of that nature. I know Trustee Stonecipher kept coming back to the employees. I think we talked a little bit to make sure that the employee is included in that. So it's not just student focused as well as also employee.
Could those two things be teased out a little bit? I don't know if they could be two different pillars, but the idea of scholarship and learning and, you know, faculty working together to innovate, students really engaging with, you know, their own minds and their own goals and that whole thing. And does that need to be separated out from the very important piece, but maybe separate, which is getting engaged on campus and being in clubs and going to events and things like that? You know, part of the reason we support those things so much isn't just because students like them, but because research says if you are engaged, then this happens. But ultimately, this is what we actually want, you know. So I don't know, do those need to be separated at such a high level, or are we trying to conflate two things that can't be conflated?
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to say is we want St. Pete College to be a great place to learn, work, and play. Or learn, work, and grow. Whatever it is. If you're an employee, you're going to learn, work, and grow. If you're a student, you'll learn, work, and grow. So how do we express that, you know, in a way that when people read that, they totally understand it? Wow, St. Pete College is a great college to learn. If I'm a student, it's a great college to work. If I'm an employee, it's a great college for all of us to grow. Adam?
Well, first of all, I think that's a great way to say it. I think that should always be a pillar. Learn, work, and grow. I mean, I'm a slogan guy. I love that, okay? The other thing is, and you can say it all sorts of ways, there should be a value proposition in being a part of this family. A value proposition. That there's a reason here versus elsewhere. And we came up with the one thing, exploring the future today. It could be exploring the future today, leading the future today, serving the future today. But I think something that talks about the future. So we're tomorrow's winner, okay? And you can be a part of being tomorrow's winner today, right here. And that says to me that we're doing something here others aren't doing. Does that make sense? That goes into the whole question of, well, why SPC? And how do you answer why SPC? You have to have something that says, we do something that others aren't doing. And then everything else, I think, folds into that from the vision that the board's come up with.
Thank you. Trustee members, where are we
landing with our three? They're taking shape here. What about economic opportunity and mobility? Do we want to revisit some of the other teams' ideas to make sure we've captured everything in that area? The key for our success going forward is to make sure these three pillars are broad enough to contain all of the rich strategies we've just been talking about. So we don't want to limit ourselves in any way.
Don't like to? What don't you like about it?
I think you're right. We talked about, and I think Mr. Goodman spoke on it too, you know, being a great place to work, learn, and play, or learn, work, and play, or something like that. Learn, work, and grow.
Learn,
Yes,
work,
I
and
do.
grow.
I guess my thing is,
That's the
It sounds like everybody has a need to work.
Well, I kept saying experience, and that's kind of a buzzword these days anyways. I think it should be collegiate experience, and I think that as parents, that's what we talk to our kids about. Part of why we want them to go is for that collegiate experience.
Does it make you ask more questions? Economic opportunity and mobility. What does that mean? Right? What does that mean? Like community culture, like community culture.
It's hard for us to hear, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't allow you to ask the next. It doesn't allow you to ask the next.
Sorry.
This is a lot. It doesn't allow you to ask the next question. So under the first one, economic opportunity and mobility, you said, what does that mean? So you can explain it, right? Even on your community one, you're like, what does that mean? It's just like, it sounds like every other, if you put one mic up here. Whose is this one? Oh. Okay, fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It doesn't allow for you to give the explanation or I think under the other ones, there's a lot that can fit under their collegiate experience or opportunity. Just sounds like any other college in the country. Like it doesn't allow for you to go to that. Doesn't bring up the next question, right? And the other ones do, I believe.
But isn't that part of what Dr. Williams kind of wants to insinuate with that? Is we are like other colleges where you can have athletics and you can have these clubs. Isn't that, I mean, I know that goes away from innovation, but isn't that what we're trying to also invoke here is, even though this is a community college or state college, you can still...
So, let me ask this question. Yours was explore your future today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That could include your collegiate sports because you could be playing in the junior, what they call in the JUCO league now, and go on to a Division I. You could come here and be in a math class and you want to be an astronaut, or you could want to be in science and so on. You know, all that stuff could fall. But when
like
somebody said, when you make that statement that you made, it makes you think about, well, what does that mean? And what does it mean to me? Right? It'd be different for everybody, but it still is that experience. Right? Without saying college experience or collegiate experience.
Yeah.
But I think
I see what you're saying.
under number 2, I think we also want to capture the importance of the administrative side of the house, and what are we doing, what goals are we going to create the next 3 years to be sure that there is that we are scheduling and providing the correct classes and getting the transparency between all of those other.
So you're providing that same experience under all those things. Streamlining processes, making sure that you have the opportunity to build your future countywide with a schedule that is on each campus, or the master schedule, whatever you call it. I mean, you could attach every one of those things to that theme that they were talking about, or the scholarship one too.
Team 6 and 7, you mentioned revisiting some of the.
Can't hear you.
Sorry.
You want me to bring the mic back here?
You mentioned revisiting some of the other slogans or mottos that were. After thinking about it, I actually liked Heather's.
It was Team 7.
Team 7,
Team
sorry,
7.
Team
Collaborative.
7. Thinking about what you're saying about slogans being simple, meaningful, and that you don't have to explain them. Scholarship, partnership, and care.
Yeah, that's
Really it encompasses what you all are saying, but it's simple. Just food for thought out there. Really good.
Thank
just going to add, if we keep your community, your college, I think we have to make sure it's, you start here, you get your foundation here. We want you to come here first and think of us first. So it kind of brings in branding and things like that. But part of your community, your college is, come here. We want you to come here first. We can prepare you for anything. We can, you know.
And I think Trustee Gibbons makes a really good point. What do we do different? What makes SPC special? I mean, we've got students that come from a variety of different communities, different counties, all around the country. And it really is that foundational educational experience, which then becomes transformational, it becomes innovative, it becomes the next step, it becomes your future. But we talk a lot about even the students that leave us and our alumni. They come back to us as if we're like a touchstone to them, that we've provided that solid foundation to guide them quite literally through the rest of their life and to their dreams.
And then Jesse, Dr. Coraggio.
Thanks. I like all the things that are up here. Let me start with that, and I think we're having great conversation around where we need to go next. What if we just call it, I had two thoughts. One, what do we just call it the Titan experience? I mean, if that's what we're trying to create, this whole image of the Titan and the collegial, why don't we call it the Titan experience and then describe what the Titan experience is? The second thing is I really want to support Melanie's comment, because I had the same thought and was trying to jump up behind the pole to make the same comment that she did. I really feel like, as an institution, I want to suggest to the board that we have a fourth pillar that's about education. Because I understand that's what we do and everybody understands that that's what we do, but I feel like it's a pillar that needs to sit on its own right. And whether we call it education or teaching and learning or scholarship, I feel like there should be one place that's specifically entitled to what our core mission is. Thank you.
Team 5 seconds left.
Yeah, I would like to second that. And I would like to advocate for Team 5's idea, which is, and what Devron was just talking about, explore your future today. Look, we're either going to write these so we feel good and it's academic and it's solid, or we're going to write it as real people talk and as real people remember. If you want recall on these ideas, talk the way people talk and give them something they can remember. It's not, and this is not about any of the worthiness of the ideas. It's about the recall and rallying aspect of these ideas, and we want to show there's also something else about it, which is attitude. It's one of the things we talked about in the transition committee. We have to have an attitude here, that we're going to be better than anybody out there, that we're going to be cutting edge, that we're going to flex to where other people did not flex or cannot flex, that we get to yes a lot faster, that we communicate powerfully, that we are one. We speak with one voice, with one idea, and we're all together. And so if we want to have that attitude, I'm advocating very strongly as a brander and messaging person, that we reflect that in the language of this vision. Don't go for the okay, that says it all, as opposed to wow. I think we need more of the wow factor.
I agree with that, and I'm also thinking as I'm going through this, who are the students that we want to be bringing in? What do they look like? Who are they? Do we want to go out for those 18-year-olds, and that's who our focus is now going to be on, bringing them to campus, getting them involved. Or is it going to be the students that we have now who look a little bit differently now? I think until we know who our target is, and target sounds harsh, but you have to have someone in mind that you're scaling this college for. And I haven't heard that. I've heard it from a number of different students describe this. So I don't think we can be clear until we're clear on who that student is.
I don't know if we should be addressing a target, because we're about inclusion, right? And so if we start targeting, then we lead to exclusion, and we start just focusing on one population. And
well, some of the language I'm hearing is very exclusionary. Not everyone's going to be interested in athletics. Not everyone's able to come to campus. Some students are in other states. Do we want to continue that, in which case we need to include all of them in the vision, or do we want to modify that?
That's why we're saying explore your future today, and then we can talk about, we talked a lot about diversity too, and making sure that we're including the diversity, whether it be, and not just, gender and age, but online modalities, online if you have the opportunity to come onto campus or not. And in the transition team, we also talked about having ways that we can incorporate, say, our online learners into the collegiate experience, if you will. How we can have maybe some live streaming for them, how we can have some online groups and clubs for them. So I don't think we're trying to exclude. We don't want to.
Well,
We shouldn't want to.
that's what I'm saying, we just want to make sure that we are, because I remember that from the transition
Yeah.
team.
All right, a couple more quick comments, and then we're going to come back to the Board of Trustees and ask you all to take this all in. Please.
Hi, in case some of you don't know me, I'm Fatma Hadea. I am SGA president for Clearwater. I am a student, and I am what a lot of those students look like. So there is a big, diverse amount of students. They're from 18 until probably 90 that are there. So it's not just one, we can't exclude anyone, and we can't just say this is for, we're only going to focus on one group, because our community college is a community. It's not just one age group.
I just want to add on to this conversation and say that Dr. Caraggio's idea of the Titan experience really feels like it fits all of those different student groups really well. Because Dr. Clark, when you were talking about which student group do we want to target, my answer was resounding yes to all of them. And I think that the Titan experience, we can then describe how we have activities or engagement that fit you at whatever stage of life you may be in.
So all kinds of good feedback. Board members, we think about the Titan experience.
I've been thinking a lot about that. And I guess whether it's a pillar or a branding, a tagline, you know, we are Titans, building Titans daily. If you think about what a Titan is, it's a Titan in the industry. I wrote down giant, stands out for greatness and achievement, powerful, influential. We're producing Titans daily, building Titans daily. So I like the Titan experience. You don't have to be an athlete. You can be a musician and an athlete. You can be a mathlete. You can want to be a teacher. You can want to be a cop. You can want to be a nurse. You can want to be all of these programs that we have, we're building Titans daily. I like that. I don't know where that goes. That does go into the collegiate experience, but I don't know. I kind of got lost in the branding element, but I like it.
I had a comment. I think a lot of this, in my mind, is separated between
marketing and branding. Maybe that's exactly what you were saying. We don't have to lose the Titan experience, and even the comment I made about your community, your college. That's more of maybe more of a branding thing. Am I under speaker? There we go. But on the other side, I think the more specific stuff, isn't that the strategic plan is more for you and for Dr. Williams to plan over the next 5 years. So those things, I mean, I know the community will see that, but isn't it more for us to make a plan? And the branding stuff is more the community facing student recruitment, right? I mean, I'm trying to understand the difference.
I think that's absolutely correct, and I think that as we listen to the conversation around the room, there's a fine line, right, between what we want as our overreaching, overarching pillars of the college and how we can brand it and make it stand out. And maybe there are ways to do both at the same time, but I don't want to get too lost in the weeds with the branding side of it. So as we look back, Dr. Williams, do you have something to add?
I did. So, you know, at the end of the day, I think my big question is, what do we want SPC to be known for over the next 3 years? What do we, at the end of the day, will fall on our swords and say, this is what we want to be known for. This is who we are and what we want to be known for. And so everything that we've talked about will either help us along that way or is actually pillar worthy. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you think about what you want to be known for, and you hear me talk a lot about helping people get out of poverty, changing lives, transforming Pinellas County into being a better place to live, work, and play, okay? So when we talk about our pillars, because some of the things we've talked about, they really are branding ideas, they're excellent. They're better than some of the things we have. But at the end of the day, what 3 things, I was hoping for 5, but I better stick with 3, do we want to be known for in this county that sets us apart, as Trustee Foster said, what makes SPC stand above everyone else, and what will we be known for, what will we be good at? And so if we say education, what does that mean? And we'll talk about it, but if we say we want, in 3 years, we want to make sure that we're known for being great educators and providing excellent learning, then that would be a pillar. If we say we want to be known for moving this county and bringing about economic opportunity and mobility for the citizens of Pinellas and beyond, that would be a pillar. So I feel like I'm getting ready to preach, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. Pass it, election plate. But I do want to make sure that we stay on the high level and stay in the visionary pieces of what do we want to be known for. And all the other pieces will either be a part of the marketing and branding, or part of the objectives that we put in play, the things that we're going to measure our success on and what we do. And I just want to make sure we don't confuse the in the weeds things with the overarching vision pieces. And so that's what we're asking the board to say, what are the top 3 things that we want to be known for? And once we name those 3 things, then we'll break into our groups and we'll start trying to put some meat on the bones for those 3 things. Stan?
Dr. Williams, I just,
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that I know the 3 things, but when you earlier used the words learning and working, I think those really resonate. I mean, learning is an active thing. It's a verb. It's not education, which is static. Yeah. I like the idea that we would have, a dynamic word like learning. It's also a common word. It's not jargony. It's not a lot of buzzword. It's a common word that we're learning. That's what we're about. I think working is like that too. It suggests economic development. It suggests workforce development. It covers a lot of things. I don't know what the 3rd one is, and maybe it's caring, maybe it's changing, whatever it is. But I like the idea of a verb, that we are dynamic, we're moving, we're not just static. So.
Right. Say the 3 you said again.
Grow.
Grow.
So learning, working, growing.
Growing is good, yes. Growing is good.
Oh,
There you go.
I like growing, but I also like the idea about moving into the future, so I'm wondering it could be exploring. Learning, working, and exploring.
That's good.
I like all the discussion, Dr. Williams. I remember I had a conversation, we talked about being known for something. Just want to add these 2 points, and we can move on or not. But I remember I had the opportunity of meeting Jack Kemp, who was Secretary of HUD one time. And he found out, he said, "Oh, you're from St. Petersburg, Florida." And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "That's where Accreditation College is." I said, "How did you know that?" He said, "Because I have 3 or 4 people in my office that went to graduated from Accreditation College, and they are the best writers that I have found in the country." That's what they're known for. They're known for creating an environment where they have effective communicators that are good writers. I met a kid last night at the Hotel Duval in Tallahassee, graduated from where? Accreditation College. That was the first thing that came to my mind in the conversation I had 20 years ago. And I said, he said, "Yep, the last 2 years you have to go to this writing principle and program and so on." So you talk about being known for something, then we have to put a foundation together. So whatever this overarching thing is, you have to figure out, we have to figure out what that is, and how do you nail down and actually drill down and be known for that. The other thing is, the last point I'll make is, we're talking about learning, we're talking about scholarship, we're talking about education, collegiate, all those things. When I pull up to a stoplight and I see every young person from 21 to 26 in a car and everybody's like this, they're looking down. Whatever goes up there is one of those big things. We better be communicating it, as Mr. Goodman said earlier, to plain people or the people that we're trying to attract, right? And we know we don't communicate this scholarship, learning, all that stuff sounds like stuff. When I went to school, it's based on technology and how you're going to engage them. What sparks them to ask the next question? What makes them tick? It's not the same thing as it was 25 years ago when I went to school. So that, I mean, whatever it is, talking about the experiences on the college campuses as one college, it needs to speak to a lot of people and make sure that all of them will engage in that particular, to ask the next question. That's why I said, when I look at economic opportunity and mobility, what's the next question? When I look at, you ask, what is that? Your community, your college, community, diversity, or whatever, you know, that thing right there, the third one. I can't see that part, so don't hold it against me. But that makes me ask the next question. The college experience just sounds like blah. The learning, even, I mean, I'm not trying to be, you know, funny, but scholarship, like, that just makes me think of money. Like, doesn't make me ask that question, like, how am I going to pay for this? Or is somebody paying for it for me? Or not paying for it? How, you know, it just sounds like a bunch of college stuff. Right? And if you're trying to engage these phones and other stuff is how these young people and other folks now communicate. They don't communicate like we do. So.
So I was going back to the verbs, and I have to apologize. I always prefer a table over a stool. So I find myself trying to come up with this fourth piece. But in the verb piece, learning, working, exploring, I think what's missing there is the community if you're thinking about going in that direction. And I would suggest in that one partnering. I mean, I think it's a big part of what we're trying to do as we go forward. So I heard Trustee Gibbons' comments, and I'm not sure if you guys are still considering that, but if you were considering those three, that would be a fourth I would strongly recommend.
As a former student and alumni, I was a high school dropout. I am who I am today because of this school. And I would like for us to convey that you can become a success when you go here. And it's affordable. Affordability is the uppermost on that poverty-stricken person. I couldn't afford to go to USF when I first came back to school. I could afford to go here. And yet I got the best education here. I went to college. I'm a graduate of Petersburg College. My education was better here. Petersburg College built on what I learned here. USF built on what I learned here. This was the best foundation I could have gotten anywhere in the country. I'm telling you, I feel very strongly about that. And I am so proud at graduation every time you ask for the alumni to stand up. I'm an alumni. And when I go to the grocery store, I ask the cashiers and the baggers, where are you going to school? And if they say SPC, I say, good for you, I went there too. And when I go into hospitals, I ask the nurses, I ask the aides. When I go to the dentist office, I ask the dental hygienist. I am so proud to be a Safety College graduate. And somehow, we've got to instill that in in one word sentence.
So can I look forward to doing?
Going back to Dr. Williams, we have a mission and a vision, and some of this conversation seems to imply that we need to adjust our mission and vision, which we may need to do. Wordsmith it, I guess, because I think the plain language of our mission and vision is saying learning, working, doing, exploring. So for the sake of today's exercise, if we're trying to create the pillars upon which our vision and mission sit, they are supposed to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, a bit more specific, a bit more tangible. We're talking about what we're working toward that's going to get us to that peak of where we're going to be. Is that?
Exactly.
Okay. So I guess with that in mind, I would go back and look at our mission and vision and ask that perhaps we can come back and look at the words of those if we want to in the future to make it catchier and better, which I think is always a good thing. But promoting student success and enrich communities through education, career development, and self-discovery is our mission. So I agree that we could probably wordsmith that to make it more sexier, more engaging. But then what we sit on and how we would achieve that mission, I think, is providing the college experience however we say it, and making sure that our faculty and our deans and our students have those similar experiences. It is those other things we put up there. So I don't want to get stuck in the weeds on what seems to be wordsmithing a bigger vision or mission as opposed to our role today, which is over the next 3 years, what are the 3 or 4 things that we are really going to work on to be sure that we are achieving that vision?
And those 4 things, 3 or 4 things, will be the things that we use as a template for every decision we make. Is it going to help students learn? Will it get more people to work? Will it help us with partnerships? Will it improve this or that? So I think you're right, and the plan was to get our pillars together and then wordsmith the mission, vision, and values and bring that back to the board. So for today, we're hoping to get the 3 to 5 pillars by which we plan to stand on. I know we've gone around the room and it may be difficult because I know we're going back and forth, but this is all a part of the plan. This is all a part of coming together as a college family and working collaboratively. And the board has done a great job. If you guys were in our conversations, you would have been really proud. It was good. And I was peeking at what you were writing as well as time went on. I do have to go back to Dr. Vidito and what he said about making it livable and breathable and something people can understand. Shannon, you talked about the versatility of all of our students. They're different, they're coming from different walks, and they need to be able to understand what we're doing. And we could take some simple words and snapshot those and pull what the board has. I'm totally married to economic opportunity and mobility. It's just something that I really like. But I also like the idea of the collegiate experience and believe that underneath learning, we would include the collegiate experience and components of that. That's a part of college. Working is what we're trying to get. Students are coming here to get a job. I don't care where they are, how they look. They want to get a job and have a better life. They want to improve their life. Partnerships, we already know this is an area that we're going to have to improve, whether it's a community partnership with a faith-based organization, or with the YWCA, or with Jable Circuit, or whoever. We've got to get those partnerships done and create workforce education. I know we talked about that. Community, we talked about being a part of that. I'm wondering if the board would consider the dialogue we've had and look at what we have up here to see if we can come up with some words that we can use, that we can add the legs on and say these are our pillars.
Well, I know, Devron, you don't like collegiate experience,
Right.
and and Bridget, you didn't like Titan experience.
It's not that I don't like it. I think it's branding. I don't think
branding.
I think what she was trying to say was what I was trying to say.
Right.
Was these shouldn't be ambiguous. And to me, your future today is ambiguous. And to me, if you have to ask a question after you read what the statement is, it's ambiguous. I mean, I think it should be very specific, which is also what she was saying, in what we communicate. So that is all I was saying about the Titan experience.
Sure.
Because that means something different. That's
So do we want to change the collegiate experience, your community, and break out? We could change economic opportunity and mobility.
Well, let's keep in mind too that each of these will have short definitions after them, so they have to be a little bit ambiguous just in their original form, because they are going to be more clearly defined immediately after. It's going to be a short description, which would be hard to do, but
with both, descriptions.
We'll do those, yeah, we'll bring that back. Would the board be opposed to the notion of going with, like learning and partnering, and then we work on the meat and potatoes to it? I mean, like going with education or learn, grow, something.
I just think that's too general still.
Too general still?
Yeah.
Theirs is general.
Well, yeah, but
Education.
explaining, for instance, workforce and economy. I'm reading Valencia's pillars, workforce and economy, and then they define it, building on our success, producing technologists, professionals, while expanding opportunity for advancement for the rest of the economy. So it needs to be somewhat general because we are about to define it in a better way.
So we agree number one is okay.
I'm fine with number
Economic
one.
opportunity and mobility. Is
One's good.
That was good. Okay, so we got one.
Lock one in.
Okay, so for what phrase or words would we use to talk about student learning and success? Should we just say student learning and success is number two? And that'll capture the college experience, it'll capture.
See, I feel like that just doesn't leave room for, just as a college experience, and that's kind of why I like the word culture, but I understand why experience may be more relevant today. In my mind, this encompasses not only the student, but the faculty, the staff, administrative, everybody who has anything to do with the college.
Are we avoiding the student-ready college words for a reason? I mean, that's really that's where this started, right?
Would that be part of the definition?
I don't know.
behind
That's
it?
no, I mean,
Ready college will capture.
because then from there you're filtering down the campus experience, the faculty.
Could you call this college culture? College culture? And then define it from there.
Brian?
I don't want to take away from what the board is discussing, but what I'm envisioning after all this, just my 2 cents, is SPC, exploring the future today, pillars, learn, work, grow. And then define after learn, work, grow, what that means, kind of like Valencia has done. You could add a fourth partner. But it's simple, it's clean. I think it says what we're hoping it to say, and you can add a lot and build out subsets under those pillars. Just my 2 cents.
Any other comments, board members?
We have to make a decision today.
We'll change the ball anyway.
That's not what he said.
Thoughts?
That's his title. His title. The title is considered.
I think we said what our priorities are. The one campus, the transparent learning or the transparent experience. I'm having a hard time getting that thought into learn, work, grow, partner. And I think that that's one of our values.
We have a comment.
Yeah.
Dr. Williams, there's a comment back here.
Yes.
We use the term transform a lot among the groups, and to me, instead of grow, not to offend, we really are transforming lives, and that goes back to our vision and our mission. So if perhaps just a wordsmith of a word that might be able to define a little bit more closely. But we are transforming lives, not just helping people grow.
Thank you.
I think what the board is saying too, they're struggling with learn, work, and partner. Is that what you're saying?
With which one?
No, what you said change, learn to educate. But I think what I'm hearing though is the board kind of likes the economic opportunity, the performance. Just thinking about
Collegiate culture.
we'll just have to figure out how to roll that out with people.
Yeah.
You're going to want to know what's in it for them, right? Like, what is this going to mean for
So
them?
I love having the simple words, but I just want to make sure
But we'll
what
do
our
the
true
simple-
goals are can fit within those simple words.
Right.
I mean, and that's my struggle.
If you have learning, or educate, if you have educate, you can fill that with a lot of different things, whether it's educating students or faculty and staff with professional development and things of that nature. I think it's important for the board to be comfortable with the overarching goals, and then we will bring back the meat to it to say, does this meet what what you anticipate? But today, I really wanted to hear from you, along with the team, as to what do we want to be known for and improve for the next 3 years. I think economic mobility, opportunity mobility is clear. I think we want to be known for, to me, meeting the needs of the community and the people, we serve is important. And you can put under there partnerships, internships, all kinds of things under meeting the need of the communities that we serve, the businesses, and the partnerships there. You can do that. We already said we're here to transform the lives of our students, our community, and our employees. So we're saying that's what we want to do. So transformation is a big piece. It goes back to the future idea. So we've got some good opportunities. We just got to narrow them down.
So I've been thinking about this for weeks, and I struggle to. I want something that's general enough that we can add to it, and everybody can go to their respective places of work and bring back amazing ideas to add meat to what we're doing here. However, I still think that just using the words learn, grow, work don't give us enough of a vision of what we want to do specifically over the next 3 years and what we want to be known for and what direction. I understand there's a definition that will come after that, but I don't think the definition would be long enough to clearly define what learn, work, grow is. So I am still leaning towards economic opportunity and mobility. There are a million different things we can add underneath that, but that is something that we have to strive to be at the center at and to be known for. I love your community, your college. That opens the door to everyone in our area for what we are.
Is that a branding thing? Or is that
I don't think, I think we just need to define what exactly that means. And I think the only one I'm trying to figure out what the wording could be better on is collegiate culture, but that is something I personally want to work on. I want these students to be engaged. They are already, but we can be better at that. And I want those that work here to love the culture of St. Petersburg College. And I want to make sure that culture, that experience is front and center in our minds with a lot of the decisions that we make. So that's where I'm leaning right now. I think we can add a lot underneath those. I would really like us to paint this picture and paint this vision to be a little more descriptive than learn, work, and grow.
Do you believe that under your community and your college you can address culture?
I think your community, your college is more external, and the collegiate culture that we're trying to talk about is internal to the campus.
And that can cover one college, everything. There's a lot that can fall into that.
I like it.
Good for you.
I think we have some consensus because a lot of what I heard can be pigeonholed. The future tomorrow, the future today, the type of experience, the type of culture, I still think economic opportunity and abilities, that's my number one. I think we're trying to help our students get living wage jobs in their degree field or certificated field, and that's and there's a lot of things that go under that, partnerships with businesses, and I think we've got enough to work with, but I keep coming back to that.
Two more quick comments, and then we're going to go to our teams. Please,
Hi, I think we're getting too bogged down with words. I think that the collegiate culture and experience. I feel like we're getting too bogged down with words. I think that the collegiate culture and experience pretty much engulfs everything that we need it to say. When we start adding littler or smaller words or words that are very simple and too much, maybe we lose it. So I think that the collegiate culture and experience is probably the best thing. As a student, that's what I would look at.
She has experience.
I thought of three words that perhaps could be pillars, educate, collaborate, and celebrate. Each of those words encompasses all of your suggestions and ideas that I've seen here that we've debated throughout the last hour and a half, but educate, collaborate, and celebrate encompasses each and every word the description that's been tossed out.
Shouldn't the pillars be a noun? And then the action or the verb word be how we operationalize and build the goals and objectives from the pillars, which should define our mission and our vision. So the action words or the verbs are how we will operationalize the pillars, make them something that everybody can relate to as to now how do I learn, work, grow, transform, partner, educate, etc.
It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that as we come up with these 3 or 4 general pillars and ideas, or more specific pillars and ideas, and then define them today, there will be an opportunity over the next 4 or 5 weeks to wordsmith this a little bit and make sure that it looks and sounds the right way. What we're trying to do today is come up with the big picture idea, narrow it down a little bit, and then let people run with it, think about it, chew on it, and finalize it. Yes?
So I'm just looking at these other pillars, and I want to echo what Dr. Cooper was saying and what Trustee Bellows said and also Dr. Williams. What do we want to be known for? We don't want to be known for learn, that word. We want to be known for providing quality education. Economic mobility and opportunity is perfect. So that's where I'm seeing this, and maybe I'm misguided. I'm kind of with that mind, we're getting so down into the weeds.
Yeah.
What are these 3 or 4 or 5 things that we want people to, within 1 or 2 words, be able to say, this is what we are known for? We're known for providing you with economic opportunity and mobility, giving you the best education in the area, providing a community of care. I don't know, that's the way I'm reading this, as opposed to learn or work or grow or celebrate or collaborate. I think it's, what are we giving to people? What is our product?
Devron, go ahead. We're going to push forward.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I was going to say, no, it's all right. What I would say is we have a catch-all, right? And then now when we get the second tier information, we can always go back and change what it is. And we come up after we look at what's underneath that, and that gives everybody some time to kind of review. We're just trying to press it today. And it's not happening. It's not something that everybody can get on and catch it. So let's just move on, get the second tier of information, and maybe that gives us, we can come back to it and say, this is what we see this as, right? Because maybe that will spark something that we don't have today, if we're not going to that way.
We're going to move forward with these 3 right now, and I appreciate everyone's comments and the conversation that we've been able to have. And we're going to continue to work on this. And Andrea, if you can fill us in on our next phase.
Mr. Chair, maybe you have an email that we can send suggestions to as well.
Thank you. All right, so good work. Yeah. So we have next round are 7 teams, and find your team assignment on your agenda packet. We're going to accelerate the definition phase. So what that means is on round 2, which is defining the strategic pillars, how many of you are in teams 1 and 2? Please raise your hands. Teams 1 and 2. And each team has probably a Board of Trustee member and or Dr. Williams or Senior Vice President. Teams 1 and 2, you all are going to be working on Pillar 1 definition, which is economic opportunity and mobility. And you will go in a moment to the forest. Who are in teams 3 and 4? Please raise your hands. You all will work on defining your community, your college. And then 5, 6, and 7, teams 5, 6, and 7, please raise your hands. All right, the majority of you will work on the 3rd pillar, which is the collegiate culture, defining what that means. Team 5 will be in the forest lab. Teams 6 and 7 will be right here in the back here in the tropics. Once you get to your teams, you'll elect a keyboarder, and for whatever pillar you've been assigned, you brainstorm definitions. Make them brief, succinct, and very targeted. So brainstorm definitions, like so. And then what we'll do is we will ask you to identify maybe your top 2 or 3 definitions and drag them over to the top definitions bucket. We'll give you about 10 minutes to work on definitions for your strategic pillar. Identify the top 2 or 3, drag them over to the top definitions, and we'll literally reconvene in about 15 minutes to review all the top definitions. Sound good? All right, thank you. All right, we invite everyone to please come find a seat. And we're going to hear from each of our pillar teams. So teams 1 and 2, your definitions are up on the main screens, teams 1 and 2, which is our economic opportunity mobility teams. Can we have your spokespersons share your 1 or 2 definitions that you thought were most important? Who's the spokesperson for Team 1, Mark? So economic opportunity and mobility.
Good morning, Joe Leopold. So our definition, I think the struggle this morning was trying to be all things to all people. And so definition for this particular one was the college will be a mechanism for change by preparing students to be ready for employment that will allow for economic success and generational transformation. There's really nothing more to add to that. It pretty much encompasses all students, and that was our struggle in trying to create this one definition. Thank you.
We included one college in our definition, and the reason for that was I think we're certainly one college in terms of 2-year, 4-year. We've worked real hard at that. We're one college at providing the same services from campus to campus to campus. But we've always been a little bit divided on the credit side of the house versus the non-credit. And we think we need to bring that together so that we respect our students who are taking non-credit courses leading to employment. We provide absolutely the same services to those students. They get the same ID, all those kind of little things that we did. And then we want to be sure that we are putting students and our communities to work and that we are meeting the needs of business and industry in Pinellas County.
Board of Trustees, any comments as you look at the definitions for the first pillar area? Very good. Yeah? All right. So then as a staff, what we'll do is further synthesize maybe these two together to form a definition that would be all-encompassing for economic opportunity and mobility. We'll bring that back to you in January. How does that sound? All right. Let's go to Pillar 2, teams 3 and 4. Pillar 2 was your college, your community. And let's hear from Team 3. Who's your spokesperson? Jim?
Thank you. So we stole one of Team 4's, the responsiveness to the community's needs, because we think first and foremost that's where we need to build those authentic relationships with our partners and with our neighbors. Also we had, providing quality, accessible, and innovative education. So not just education, not just a great education, but we need to give opportunities for innovative education that's accessible to all, and that's what we want to be known for. And then the last one was reaching out to communities to build new legacies of success. So Chair Stonecipher was talking about his family and where his mom had come to SPC and then she got a better job and then he grew up and went to SPC and did that. And so then I was speaking to, we need to take that other step beyond that, which are those in our community in Lellman and other areas who their parents have never stepped foot on a college campus, and reach into them and provide the support services and let them see the college as where they want to go to come get an education and build new legacies of success for their generations and for their families to come.
Thanks, Team 3. Team 4. Who's your spokesperson? Team 4. Your community, your college?
Looking at me. We spent a lot of time on the last sentence, trying to wordsmith it and make sure that we're addressing the needs of the community and what they need. So we said we want to partner with the community members to provide inclusive educational opportunities and services, so that the community knows they can come to us, and if they need something from our students, that we can then provide those types of programs or certificates for the community.
Team 4.
Board of Trustee members, do we have any comments related to those 4 definitions?
I'll just say, in my My mic's not. Oh, no, it is. I really like that last definition, and I would just, as you all take this back and work through things, I like keeping the word responsive somewhere in there. That's what we do, and that's what we do well. When the community has a need, we can respond faster than anyone to meet it and to say yes, as someone in our group said. So something around that as well I would love to incorporate.
All right, our third pillar, a collegiate culture. And let's hear from Team 5. Who's your...
Okay, so when we looked at this, we looked at the two words, and one of the words that we decided to focus on was culture and identifying culture. And I believe that trustee member Cole looked at sort of breaking that down as academic excellence, service, and a community of care. So we kind of landed on if you can point me into where we're at right now. I'm having a hard time seeing this. Creating a collaborative educational environment which provides academic excellence, consistent delivery of quality services, and a community of care in a supportive and engaging culture. And we felt that that touches on a lot of the academic side of the house and the actual culture of who we are as an institution.
So first, I'm going to say we didn't have enough time. But when we looked at, very similar to everybody else, we're looking at collegiate culture. What we thought of it was student. So what does the student want? What is the student engagement piece of this? And what does that look like? And so we came up with just we came up with a bunch of them, but we had to pick out one, which is developing a student experience through academic and community engagement. And basically, if we wanted to brand ourselves, we were looking at, okay, what does this mean? So when we're talking to the community, we were looking at, developing a student experience through that kind of engagement. Of course, it encapsulates a whole bunch of other ideas, Titan Pride, hashtag Titan Pride. But that's where we are. So you look at the other I'm going to yield to Team 7 because theirs are better. I'm just throwing it out there.
Let's hear for Team 7. Team 7, are you still in your team areas? Yeah. You know where you are?
We actually have two here. Our first one is engaging students, employees, and the community in a full spectrum of Titan experiences that builds pride and a connection to the college, creates an invested community. We really talked about how it's not just students getting the experience, it's what a Titan means. And we even went into how that's different on certain campuses and how we can, work more to get people involved as an entire college, not just in individual areas. And then secondly, we had helping students, employees, and the community to make a meaningful connection to the college itself.
I just had one comment, and it's highlighted in Team 7's definitions, but one thing that we talked about after we came up with our sentence or definition was the community's interest in the collegiate experience, that there's a benefit to living within an active collegiate community. And there's athletic events and fine arts events and social events, and so besides the workforce business side of things, as a resident of Pinellas County, there are other things that are beneficial that we should highlight as well.
We'll definitely do so as we go back and synthesize, take these to the finish line. All right, are there any, now that we've looked at them with fresh eyes and definitions, Board of Trustees members, are there any pillars that we need to tweak, any missing pillars? Good, all right, well done. Chair Stonecipher, Dr. Williams, would you all like to give us the next steps for success?
Well, I of course just want to thank everyone again for taking the time today to be here and to fight our way through this. I think it was productive conversation, and it really is beneficial for us as a board to hear what some of you are thinking and how you respond to some of the things. We may look at things differently when we see through the same words. So I'm looking forward to the next step, which is over the next month, this being taken back and wordsmithed a little bit, fine-tuned, and then presented back to the board. And then I want this to be something that we're consistently thinking of, not just for the next month, but for the next year, 2 years, 3 years. We're always not only referencing what the mission of the college is, but what these specific visionary goals are that we're trying to achieve with every decision that's made. And I want to thank everyone in advance, because I know that that's not easy to do, and I know that that's going to require some thinking outside of the box items, and it may be a little uncomfortable at times, but I think these are pretty valid and exciting directions that we're going to be headed in. And I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to thank Chair Stonecipher and the entire board. You've been very patient and extremely engaged. And I think, no, that's important. That's what this was all about when we first talked about it. I want to thank the college family. You guys stuck with us and continue to remain actively involved. You'll be a part of the development of these pillars as we bring them back, if your schedule allows, when we get back from break. But I do want to thank everybody for what you've done. I know it's been a lot of hard work. Thank the students for being here. We really appreciate you, and the transition team. And we'll be bringing these back. If I don't see many of you before the holidays, I really wish you and your family all the best, and that you enjoy each other, enjoy your time off, because when we come back, it is on and popping. So get ready. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.